All guests on ZASLOW Show 2.0 brought to us by the official beer of the program, Johnny Cuba. European roots with that Caribbean soul. Pick up a refreshing German lager in a can. Your local Sedano's, a Presidente, Winn-Dixie. How else are you going to enjoy the NBA Finals Game 3 tonight? Make sure you always drink responsibly. And don't forget Johnny Cuba's mantra, stay tranquilo. I am definitely never tranquilo during Florida Panthers Stanley Cup Final games. I'll be a little bit more relaxed tonight with Game 3 of the NBA Finals. And our friend Marino, Action Network. Of course, you've heard her ESPN Radio. I've done some shows with her. I enjoy that. Maria, hello. How are you today?
Zaz, I'm doing well. Probably not as good as you with your Panthers up 2-0 in the Stanley Cup Final. Congrats on that. Definitely have been thinking of you during their run, but definitely excited to have another NBA Finals game tonight.
It's so funny. And I went through this, of course, when I was a lot younger and I started out doing the radio. I was on 790 a ticket for almost 20 years, 18 years, right out of college. And so I went through all the Miami Heat, championship years in the run. And so it's such a funny thing that you just said that, thinking of you during the Panther games, where people, now I know you, but people who I don't know, listeners like, ZASLOW's thinking about you during the game. And it's the strangest experience that, because in this case, ESPN Radio has really been good to me about allowing my fandom to come out on the air. They really have been good about that. And so people think of me during the games. It's so weird.
It's a little bit weird. I guess you should be flattered.
Yeah.
But I will say this, having worked with you a couple times now on ESPN Radio, I don't think your fandom thus far anyway has been obnoxious. I don't think it's been over the top or anything. And that's why I'm okay with, giving you those positive vibes.
I'm glad you said that, because I actually take pride in that. Like, I don't believe that I'm an obnoxious fan. For instance, okay, so Maria is a Rangers fan, all right? And there are a bunch of Ranger fans who work up in Bristol behind the glass who are producers. And, when the series going on, the Panthers are ahead 3-2, or even after they won the series, I don't send messages to them, we beat you. Because on the other side, I take that shit serious, Maria. The taunting, and I know a lot of people like taunting their friends. There's nothing more fun than when your friend's team loses.
Yeah.
I don't feel that way. That's not fun to me,
I'm all about, keeping it classy. And I think karma's a thing too. I don't want to be, it takes a lot of overconfidence, I think, to talk that level of trash. So, I mean, you gotta keep it positive, because it's all going to come back around.
Are you still watching these Stanley Cup Finals, or because the Rangers are out, you're kind of checked out?
I'll be honest with you. I didn't really watch the first 2 games super closely in real time. But I'm more of a hoops gal. You know this about me. That's why I'm on today is, I'm, NBA, WNBA, just basketball in general, obsessed. So hockey is it's cool, but it's not my, it's not necessarily got my, my heart tied to it in the way that it does for you.
All right, so we'll see if you got some plays for the finals tonight. We'll do a little NBA finals with you. But like Maria said, I really want to talk to you about what's going on with Caitlin Clark. I'll talk about it a little bit here on ZASLOW Show 2.0, but I don't try and pretend that I'm a WNBA expert. I'm exactly the type of person that they are happy with what's going on right now, meaning I haven't paid any attention to WNBA ever. And now this year, I check I'm not necessarily watching the games, but I check all the box scores. I know what's going on. I'm dialed into what's happening in the league now. So I'm a great example of the way that the league is growing right now, but I want to have someone on who, obviously is involved with it. So I'll just ask you a real general question to start here. Is all of the discourse around Caitlin Clark, is it a good thing or a bad thing for the league?
I think it's ultimately a good thing. I know some people will think differently and say, oh, I'm so sick of the negativity. But you know what? We're talking about it, and we have to talk about it. It's to the point now where it's so undeniable that it can't be ignored. And I think that can only help the WNBA especially get into more people's general wheelhouse in terms of their knowledge, what they care about. It's one of those conversations that it's a water cooler conversation. It's like you bump into somebody. It's like, if you don't know what's going on, you kind of feel stupid. And so like, I also don't appreciate like people making it seem like everything is negative. That's just maybe what they're seeing or what they choose to see. There's a lot of really, really great things. I know it can be frustrating, particularly because there are some folks in the media that have megaphones that, you know, maybe aren't necessarily bringing the nuance to the conversation that they would if it were a topic that they've been covering for years and years. But I'm okay with that. I'm not like one of those gatekeepers being like, no, I should be the one to talk about it because I've been covering it. It's like, no, I'm excited to see the increase of just like general casual fans. I'm like, welcome, like, come on in. Like, let's get into this. Like, this is going to be fun. So overall, I'm okay with the amount of conversation. I think there has to be context given where possible. And I think people also need to open their minds a little bit and have a little bit of patience and be willing to learn. Like, don't just come on in and think like you have the whole, you know, the whole story figured out. Like, be willing to dive a little deeper, ask a few questions, watch the damn games. Cause I'm telling you, the product is phenomenal and it's been that way for a few years, but the games, like, they're so good. They're so fun. And once you sort of get into that and start looking at the game itself and not just the cultural issues surrounding it, that's when you're really going to get a lot out of it.
You know, I'm glad you mentioned how you don't want to be one of those gatekeepers, you know, because, and you mentioned nuance as well. There's not usually a lot of nuance when it comes to the, you know, sports talk radio or sports talk shows, however you want to look at it. And it's like, yeah, if the WNBA is going to be on the level of these other sports when it comes to people paying attention, I think it was Dan Levitard who said yesterday, you got to welcome in the idiots.
Yeah, for sure. And again, like, I'm okay with doing that. I'm okay with bringing some context, bringing some angles that maybe somebody didn't think of before. It's kind of been what I've prided myself on in my career, not just with women's basketball, but with anything. Like, just bringing, you know, a different angle to it and a different understanding.
So, Caitlin Clark, Team USA. Give me some thoughts there. I'll tell you real quick my thought here. I have no problem with her being left off the team.
Yeah.
I think in general, it's not Team USA's job. And again, it's not WNBA, it's Team USA. It's not Team USA's job to look out for ratings. That's number one. I think it's a pretty easy thing to say. But also, I don't think Caitlin Clark's one of the 12 best players in the WNBA right now. I mean, she's probably not. Mm-hmm. And B, I'm not sure, like, she hasn't earned being on Team USA yet, would be my first opinion. No, she earned being the #1 overall pick in the draft because of her collegiate career. She's been a professional for like a month, and she's been all right. She hasn't been great. She's not even the best rookie. So I have no problem with her being left off Team USA.
Well, hold on there. I don't know if I would say she's not the best rookie quite yet, Zaz. I mean, I know she's had some turnover issues. Her percentages are a little low, but her usage is through the roof, both not just comparing to rookies, but to the league as a whole. So that's something to keep in mind. But to answer your question about sort of my reaction of the news of her being left off Team USA's roster, I was on ESPN radio on Saturday when this news first broke. And so, you know, was able to kind of have that gut reaction. And it really hasn't changed all that much for me. And in general, I am okay with her being left off the roster. I think you could see arguments for both sides. If you told me, hey, Caitlin Clark made Team USA, I'd be like, awesome. I wouldn't be up in arms. I wouldn't be like, this is outrageous. But you're telling me she is left off the team, and I feel the same. I'm not freaking out. I think it's fine. People, you actually just said like top 12 WNBA players. I think that's generally what you're looking for on a Team USA roster. But I would say this too. It's not just who's the top 12. I think when you're putting together an Olympic team, you need the right mix. You need to build a team. You need to have players that fit together. You need to have veterans. You need to have, I think, some youth in there. You need to have players that have played together. So for me, it's not even so much who's the most competent, who has played together. And the biggest thing that people keep kind of brushing over is Caitlin Clark was not able to train with this team. I really think that the timing of USA women's basketball training camp being during the Final Four and some of the other timing, scheduling with the lead up to these Olympic Games was just not in Caitlin's favor. It's hard to not only throw someone out there who is a rookie, who has had some growing, minor expected growing pains in the W, but somebody who has not put the time in to train with this squad, to get to know this coaching staff, to get to know Cheryl Reeves' scheme. So that to me is more than anything. It's not like I'm saying Caitlin Clark is not a good enough basketball player. She is. She is a good enough basketball player to be on this team, but she hasn't had a chance to train with the team. And when you're looking at the Olympic cycle, that's huge. Like there are players like for instance, like a Kelsey Plum or Jackie Young, the Sabrina Ionescu, those guards, they've been trying to make this team for years. They've been, for years have been playing internationally with this group at training camp. So, and that's no fault of Caitlin. She was in college, in Iowa, breaking records and making it to Final Fours. It's not her fault. She couldn't attend those camps. So I think that's something to keep in mind. And then also, I feel for Caitlin because a lot of what she's doing, look, her game and what she's brought to it skill-wise, in my opinion, is unprecedented. She's done things that we have never seen, and she deserves the coverage that she's getting. It's amazing that she's brought so many new fans to the sport, but I almost feel bad for her that it's like all of a sudden her responsibility. Like she has to save women's college basketball. She has to save the WNBA. Now she's the savior of the Olympics. How about what's best for Caitlin? Like it's actually best for Caitlin. We're not thinking about putting the world on her shoulders. We're just thinking about Caitlin. This woman could use a break. And I think that might actually be not even just what's best for her, but best for the game as a whole. Because another thing people aren't talking about, Zaz, and I'm going to give it to you because I'm here with you. The Olympics and the WNBA, yes, they are tied together. WNBA players play in the Olympics. They're not the same entity. People have had no problem rooting for Team USA. They have no problem rooting for USA women's basketball to win gold. There have been problems with people not wanting to support the WNBA in the past. I think it's more important for Caitlin and the sport to have the Indiana Fever being competitive down the stretch of the WNBA season, because when the Olympics are over, I still want you to pay attention. I still want you to pay attention to what's going on in the W. And so I actually think people are talking about what's best for the sport. You got to parcel it out just a little bit. USA women's basketball and the WNBA have had different narratives over time. Like there's just been a lot more hateful discourse up until recently about the WNBA. You know this. I mean, you would see the vitriol on social media. Thankfully, it's a lot better now than it used to be even 3-4 years ago. But a healthy Caitlin, a competitive Indiana Fever, that's what I want to see. I want to see that. Because the USA, they're going to be competitive no matter what. Let's keep this growth of the WNBA. Let's keep that top of mind. And I think that matters when August comes around and everybody's starting to watch football. Like, all right, I'm ranting here, so just
go on.
Like, okay, so we're watching the Olympics. Like, I'm sorry, like, a lot of people, yeah, they like to watch the swimming. They like to watch track and field. Why? Because we don't get to see that all the time. But how about when the WNBA season continues and football starts coming around? It's late in the baseball season. All these things, like what I want to keep that momentum going. So let's sort of embrace like Caitlin getting some rest. the Indiana Fever working on some shit because they need it. And like, I want to see them maybe they don't make the playoffs, but I want to see them playing meaningful games down the stretch of the season. And I think that ultimately is going to continue to propel the views of the WNBA forward and women's basketball forward in ways that are more valuable than Caitlin's presence in Paris.
I think you're right. You know, like you mentioned earlier about there being nuance to these discussions. It's so easy when the news comes out that she's not on the team to blast Team USA, when in reality, I think everything you're saying is spot on.
Well, I appreciate that. And look, you and I haven't even gotten into the credentials of the women that were selected for this team. And, you know, I think there are certainly a couple of players that when you're looking at it, the observer would be like maybe questioning. And one of them is Chelsea Gray, because she's been injured and she hasn't played yet during this W season. She's expected to return prior to the Olympic break. So I can understand why some people would question that. She's also, I mean, prior to her injury, I mean, she's the point guard. Like, she's point guard. Like, she is phenomenal. And then, you know, Diana Taurasi, she's going for her 6th gold medal. She's 42 years old. And some people say, well, give someone else a turn. Would you tell LeBron James not to, you can't play, you're out? And if you think that's a crazy comparison, Diana Taurasi has been in the W for 20 years. Their careers are remarkably similar. She's got multiple championships. She's the all-time leading scorer in the W. Are you telling LeBron to sit down? Are you telling LeBron, now we don't want you, we're good? No, you're not. Because first of all, Diana is still balling. And look, veteran leadership is very important. Like, I get it. Like, I really do. It's just that simple. Like, you're not telling LeBron, sorry. If he wants to play, you're not telling him, sorry, like, give someone else a turn.
It feels a little bit like everyone else is mad for Caitlin Clark. I'm not even sure that Caitlin Clark is mad about it. She may actually understand the whole situation.
Well, did you hear her, Zaz, saying, someone said, you know, what was your level of disappointment? Asked her flat out. And she said, no disappointment. Like, she understands what's going on. And
she's likely going to have 2 or 3 more opportunities to be on Team USA.
Yeah. And look, sometimes sometimes we say that in sports. Even I think it's harder when you get to say, like, the finals, or you have a chance to win a championship. Oh, they'll be back. It's easier said than done.
No, the Olympics are coming around. They're coming every 4 years.
Yes. 100%. And so I totally agree with you. And I think she's taken everything in stride. And also, she wants to earn it. Like, how would you feel if someone was like, hey, you made the team, and you know in your heart of hearts that maybe you weren't the most qualified for that team? Is that fair for that player?
I think she's better off this way.
Yeah, because she would be, it's kind of a lose-lose in terms of the discourse. Mm-hmm. But like, people would be saying she doesn't deserve, you know, she doesn't make the team, she deserves it. She makes the team, she doesn't deserve it. It's like,
why isn't she playing more?
100%. And like, she doesn't need it right now. She's going to be fine. Women's basketball is going to be fine. There's no going back now, Zaz. Like, the viewership, just the general cultural awareness, it's not going to just disappear, and it's only going to keep growing. So this has been a long, drawn out way of me saying, I'm fine. I'm good.
I'm good with it too. I think you did an excellent job there.
Thank you.
Game 3. Tell everyone again, real quick, before I ask you about the NBA. You have the WNBA podcast, you do, right? Yeah.
So I am with Action Network, where, you know, sports betting focused. And one of the things I do is host a WNBA betting podcast called Buckets. So definitely check that out. Also doing a number of NBA specific shows. Mostly, you know, we have great analysts on there that are, they're fantastic. So, you know, in terms of picks and stuff like that, that's the place to go.
Are you leaning one way or the other with tonight's game 3, Dallas and Boston?
Yeah, so I lean Dallas just because of the desperation spot, and because I think if they played even a fraction better than they did in game 2, they win that game. And I don't see Luka and even Kyrie sort of going down without a fight. And I think if you're going to win a game, this is the one that it has to be. Look, the spread's incredibly close. It was like a point and a half. I'm a little hesitant on the full game spread just because Boston has so many weapons. They're so disciplined defensively. And I could see Dallas just going gangbusters in the first half, and then Boston sort of making some adjustments and their experience sort of coming through, because as great as Luka has been, his bench players, or the players around him aren't as experienced, and that's showed a little bit. They've struggled. They've gotten, I think, a little bit overwhelmed at times, and kind of like what we saw with the Pacers. I do wonder in those clutch moments, like if it's a close game, if the ball's not in Luka's hands, who's making the decision? I think there could be something tricky there. So I actually do lean Dallas in like first quarter, first half. Because Luka has been way better in the first half than he has in the second. And part of that is because he's been so ball dominant. His usage is through the roof, and he's just getting tired. He's getting tired in the second half. Now, I do wonder this, Zaz, and tell me what you think. Mm-hmm. I know how good Luka is. Sometimes, look, you cannot beat a team. You cannot play basketball 5-on-5 and have one player beat a 5-person team. It just doesn't work. So we saw Luka playing phenomenal, out of his mind, and they still lose the game. And so I wonder if he needs to get his teammates involved a little bit more early. Like, I know, you want to get off to a hot start, but like somebody like a Kyrie Irving, for example, and look, it's a different animal because we're coming from Boston and there's all kinds of like background stuff with him. But like Kyrie, you need to get in a rhythm. You need to get some touches. And so if he's constantly deferring to Luka or waiting for Luka, like I could see how that would affect a player like Kyrie Irving.
Need these guys to hit shots. Luka's the only player on the Mavericks these first 2 games combined that has more than 1 3-point field goal made. Think about that. No one else on the team has made more than 1 3-point field goal. Now, we know the old adage, role players always play better at home. Yeah. All right. So I PJ Washington, Maxi Kleber, certainly Kyrie Irving, these guys, they have to be able to hit threes. 1 3-point field goal made through 2 games. For everyone, like that, it's not enough. And I know Luka said, look, Luka actually almost carried them by himself that game 2 win. 8 turnovers. He missed a ton of free throws. Like they almost won 1 against 5 in game 2. But the other guys have to hit shots. You can't have just 1 3-point field goal made for everybody through 2 games.
Yeah, for sure. And part of that is, look, Boston is incredibly disciplined defensively, and they take a lot of pride in that. I think Kristaps Porzingis helped them a lot in that area too, because he has so much length and he just bothers everybody. And so
he's not going to play tonight. There is no way we see him again. I don't believe
I don't know, but I'm not counting on it is the thing. And I don't think Boston is either. And I think they're going to be prepared for that, but they've also played a lot without KP. I don't think they're going to be panicking without Kristaps Porzingis. Like, it's certainly nice to have him. He was phenomenal, especially in game 1, but they're perfectly comfortable and capable without him. I just, I can't imagine. I just can't imagine Dallas going down.
I think Dallas wins
to none, right?
I hate the whole series is over stuff. I think Dallas wins tonight. I think we still got a series. I think we win tonight.
Good. I'm with you.
Maria, excellent job. Did we leave anything out as far as how folks can find you?
No, I mean, look, I'm on social at Maria C. Marino, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you for letting me come on and vent. I feel like that was so therapeutic.
No, you are now officially our ZASLOW Show 2.0 WNBA correspondent. Right?
Yes.
You are it, Maria. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today.
Of course.